Good day everyone, we are Group 1 and we are here to present a video report about the history of the Philippine Constitution.
Living in a crowded dream, searching for the quiet that you need to breathe. Gave up on your sanity to hide behind your shadow. While you
First of all, let's define Constitution. Constitution is a set of rules that regulate the running of our country, state, or other government. It provides a basis for government in a country that is key to ensuring that everyone's desires and needs are met. It is basically the fundamental law of the land.
There are 6 constitutions here in the Philippines. First is the Malolos Constitution, which was held during 1899 to 1901. Second is the Commonwealth Government, which was held during 1935 to 1941. The third one is the Japanese-sponsored Second Republic of the Philippines, which was held during 1943 to 1945. The fourth one is the Marcos administration, which was held during 1973 to 1986. The fifth one is the Freedom Constitution, which was held during 1986. And the last one, which is the present Constitution, was held during 1987.
Let's head to the explanation of our Constitution. First, we have the Malolos Constitution, 1899 to 1901. 1899 final draft was presented to Aguinaldo. It is known as the very first Philippine Republic. It was failed or not fully implemented due to the Philippine-US War. Philippines lost the battle, which paved way for American colonization salient features. A unicameral legislature called the Assembly, which had fully controlled over the executive power. It is called for the separation of the church and state. Bills of Rights, compulsory and free basic education.
Next is the Commonwealth Government of 1935 to 1941. It is the first constitution to be fully implemented. However, it was interrupted because the Philippines was under Japanese occupations. The Japanese occupied the Philippines from 1942 to 1945. So, technically, after it was fully implemented, the Japanese could occupy the Philippines, and so it was somehow not really followed. Let us now look at the features of the Commonwealth government. The House of Representatives was bicameral, wherein it was composed of 2 legislators. The President is elected for a 4-year term, while the Vice President is without re-election. The right to vote by male citizens who were 21 years of age and extended to women as well.
The third constitution of the Second Philippine Republic, officially known as the Republic of the Philippines and known as the Japanese-sponsored Philippine Republic, was a puppet state established on October 14, 1943 during the Japanese occupation. After the Japanese invasion of the Philippines, President Manuel L. Quezon had declared the national capital Manila an open city and left it under the rule of Jorge P. Vargas as mayor. The Japanese entered the city on January 2, 1942 and established it as the capital. Japan fully captured the Philippines on May 6, 1942 after the Battle of Corridor. Short-lived constitution since the Americans came back to the Philippines and freed us from the Japanese. After a few years, Americans finally gave us our independence on July 4, 1946. The salient features of this are provided more force for the executive members, the legislature was unicameral, and only anti-US can run for the elections. The Marcos era includes the final years of the Third Republic, 1965 to 1972. The Philippines is under martial law during the 1972 to 1981, and the majority of the Fourth Republic, 1981 to 1986. Vice President ruled the Philippines using the Commonwealth Constitution until Ferdinand Marcos was elected in 1965. Declaration of martial law due to the growing number of communists in 1972. Salient features: parliamentary government with Prime Minister and the President. Legislative powers was vested in a unicameral National Assembly elected by the people. Legalized all decrees, proclamation, and orders of President 1976 Amendment during the ruling of Marcos. The National Assembly was replaced by the interim Batasan Pambansa. The President would become the Prime Minister and have more force in legislative powers until martial law was lifted. Marcos thought that everything was in place not until one of his enemies came back, which was Benigno Aquino. Unfortunately, he was assassinated and this led to widespread outrage. Marcos held a snub election and the results were controversial that it forced the people to a historic uprising known as EDSA People Power 1. Later on, Cory Aquino became the president.
Freedom Constitution of 1986. This constitution was implemented by Cory Aquino because she abolished the 1973 Constitution and replaced with this. The 1973 Constitution was completely abolished, even the verbatim copy of it. Cory Aquino visited herself in the both executive legislative powers. It is the only transitional constitution that lasted for a year. Then a commission was created to draft a new constitution.
Lastly, we're going to talk about the present constitution which was held during 1987. It is sometimes known as the Anti-Marcos Constitution. It is the country's highest law that binds all the citizens of the Philippines. There are also salient features of this constitution. First is upholding national sovereignty. Number 2, democratic governance. Number 3, prevention of another dictatorship. Number 4, respect for human rights and civil liberties. And number 5, promotion of social justice. We're also going to talk about the 3 branches of the government. It formed a democratic republican government with 3 branches. First is the executive, number 2 is the legislative, and number 3 is the judicial. About the separation of the powers, the power is equally divided among the 3 branches to prevent any of them from being too powerful.
That is all for our group's presentation. We hope that you guys were able to learn. Thank you for listening.